Now, Katie, I know that you've written several wonderful pieces on equity and you've done a lot of research on this.
Oh dear.
And
equity, yuck. I don't even have, I rent. I don't even want to have equity in my home. The word itself frightens me.
The Biden administration has.
You mean equity like an investment you want to protect and you care about growing?
Infiltrated equity into everything.
Right, because you guys attack the word equality like you attack the word liberal.
What are your thoughts on equity for the next administration?
There will be none.
Well, it's a little heart-stopping, Bethany, and it's going to take a lot to rewind where we are right now with this, with the left's definition of equity and how that's
that's what. Tell us what we think that word means.
Layered into all federal government documents. Roger Severino states it perfectly in the
well, thanks, Roger.
Project 2025 Mandate for Leadership book. Quote, under President Biden, the mission has shifted from promoting equity in everything we do, end quote, for the sake of, quote, populations sharing a particular characteristic, including race, sexuality, gender identification, ethnicity, and a host.
I gotta for the sake of population sharing a particular characteristic, including race, sexual and ethnicity, and a host of other categories. Yeah, that would be just including those people in the American dream, I guess.
Of other categories.
Again, not a definition. She says this is the best description of equity there is. Right? Nobody said it better. Nailed it. Roger Severino. Under President Biden, the mission has shifted to promoting equity in everything we do for the sake of population sharing a particular characteristic, including race, sexuality, gender identification, ethnicity, and a host of other traits. Do you notice that in the definition of equity, the word equity shows up? This is as dumb as, was it Ta-Nehisi Coates' definition of racism includes racism? Like, that's not how you define something. Racism is not a definition. It's an argument. Right? That's like, that's the Forrest Gumping of the whole, stupid is as stupid does.
End quote. Equity no longer.
Actually, that's actually a better way of doing it, is that stupid is defined by action, not simply by thought. That stupid is active, dumb. Dumb is a thought, stupid is active, I would argue. I apologize to Forrest Gump.
Longer means all men are created equal, the cornerstone of our U.S. Constitution.
Right, it now means all people are created equal, not just men. I think we might have hit bedrock on what these ladies have as an issue.
But rather now mandates the government to dispense with unequal treatment in order to achieve what they believe to be equal outcomes. This creates...
Oh, you mean like... Let me see if I can work with you on this. There's stairs going into a building, and I have legs, and the person next to me is in a wheelchair, so we put a ramp on that building, a ramp I don't need, using my taxpayer dollars. I don't need a fucking ramp. I can walk up 3 steps, but I have to engage in taxation to provide equity for this person in a wheelchair just because they're a veteran who gave their legs to the country, and I benefit from it so I can be alive to even pay taxes in the first fucking place. And so I have to engage in this bullshit equity thing to level out the playing field so that both of us can go inside and go for the same job, which I would have been able to just walk straight in and have the meeting, and they would have had to sit, I don't know, in the fucking parking lot begging for change. You mean that kind of equality, equity, you dumbass? Equity is the starting line, not the finish line. Remember that.
It's divisiveness, not equality. There is no unification under these principles. It is more of a competition of what class is more of a victim. So that...
Hey, stupid. When there's stairs... when there's stairs and I have legs and the other person doesn't, that person's more of a victim. Period. I'm pretty fucking clear, right?
Particular class can receive the preferential treatment being handed out and mandated by the Biden administration.
Because they were denied access before. See the ramp analogy.
It's important to note that the very first executive order that President Biden signed just moments after his inauguration on January 20th of 2021 had
where he let the black lady in the White House
to do with equity. The left applauded as Biden announced his number one priority, which is advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities.
You almost had it. You almost had it. You almost. All right. Let's see if she can grasp the fucking word. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities.
Okay, so there are, therefore, served communities, maybe perhaps even overserved. If there's an underserved, there has to be an overserved, one would think, right? So they're overserved. Huh? So maybe, at the root of Christianity, you might find
throughout the federal government. As part of that executive order.
Also, by the way, some people are saying they mean white people, they mean white people. She might, but the people around Trump don't necessarily. They mean the rich and the poor. They believe that there's genetically superior people in the bell curve, that there are the good blacks and the bad blacks, the good whites and the bad whites, because they believe in white trash. Believe me, they don't give a fuck what happens to Appalachia. Look, you don't get a pass just because you're fucking white. They can't wait to keep these assholes in the rearview mirror. Let's be abundantly clear. They believe in a white racial superiority, but not all whites.
Within 90 days.
I do. I have 2 minutes and I'm good. Hold on.
Every single agency had to file an equity action plan with the White House. If you
by the way, don't threaten me with a good time. Cool. Unlike you and your shady fuck friends, I don't mind competing on a level playing field with everybody else. If I'm doing stand-up and the next person up is literally a person who can't stand up because they're in a wheelchair, but now they can get into the club and up onto the stage because there's a fucking ramp now, that's my ass if they're funnier, right? I don't have a problem with that. Why would I?
You want to see or view what you will be up against, take a look at those plans. They're all online under the Office of Management and Budget.
Right, yeah, they're policy positions by the sitting White House about how they will treat people while they're in the White House, and they, just like executive orders, they change when everybody leaves.
Since that time, 9 more executive orders have been executed by the Biden administration.
9
about equity. The latest to date is to further advance racial equity.
Oh dear God. It hurts. I don't even know how she says that. I mean, it's just painful. Advancing racial equity. So that people of color are going to be on the same playing field as me? By the way, even the ones that grew up richer than me, are they going to be brought down to my level? Hey, you mean like Chris Rock and his friends and Eddie Murphy and his kids and fucking I don't know, all the like Jada Pinkett Smith and Chris, like Chris Tucker, all these rich black performers. You're going to bring them. You're not going to bring them down. I thought equity meant we all take all the nails and you hammer them down so that they're all. Oh no! So Oprah. So you're not going to bring Oprah down to my level. you're just going to have the next Oprah maybe have a chance to just stand next to me so that neither one of us has to question whether we're there because of our race or but we're there because of our ability and what we, that's weird. I don't know. I gotta say I like the sound of that. Okay, one more quote from this lady, and then I gotta run. I will finish this later. Hit that like, share the show, etc. because we need to knock out all of these. They're not all this long. Some of them are like 20 minutes, 30 minutes long. Some of them are longer, so there'll be a project, but that's why I'm doing it, because people need to see this is Project 2025. This is the transition plan, and these are the instructional videos that they are putting out for people who are going to join the administration via the Heritage Foundation, building the transition. These are the videos that are going to be shared by Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr.
This entails new positions and responsibilities to be embedded into every single agency and office in the federal government. And there is also a directive that all funding that is given out by the federal government prioritize unequal treatment of the American people.
Well, no. I mean, if people have been unequal before, then it's equal treatment.
The noxious tenets of critical race theory and gender ideology should
terrible.
be excised from curriculum in every single public school in this country.
So Katie, this is a lot to absorb. So
it is, and we don't have time to do it all. I'm gonna run. I gotta go take my girl to go pick up her car. I'll be there. You go. All right. I will be back in by the way, yes, this is a new Apple Watch because my other one fried. I got a replacement, but my band still fits. So that's all. We got a Captain America band still. Whoops. All right, still on there. That said, because it literally, I put it on my on the little charger thing, and it started to heat up to the point where it got scary, and you could iron a shirt with it. And then I was like, I can't wear that ever again. And then it never turned on again. It's very sad. You don't need to know that. I gotta go. I gotta go take my girl to get her car. Hit the like, subscribe, share the show, etc. I will come back after I pick her up to pop back on, as long as I'm not stepping on anybody else's show. See you in a bit. I'm gonna jump straight back into this. If you need to pick up, you can always jump back. That's Summer's car is fine. And also, we're all going to the movies tonight. We're gonna go check out the new Alien movie. Very excited about that potential, I'm just saying. So, yes, but this is the greatest live stream that has ever happened, and you were here for it. Other people, they chickened out. They couldn't deal. But you, not you, you're here. Okay, so here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, back with, how are you? Lady in the purple dress. How you doing? Hold on, let me see if I can, I don't know if I have any, yeah. Wow, she's quite a lady. I like her a lot. These glasses are too big. How about these? These are better. They look a little too normal, though. I think we need some bigger ones. All right. I think we need something that shows off just exactly how geeky nerdy she is. But I actually like the other kind, if I do say so my damn self. Let's give it a try. How about these? Nope, that just says nerd. That's not happening. How about these? Nope, I've got a book in front of me. Won't work. I don't care. How about these? These are better. How you doing, sweetheart? Okay. Now I look like Harry Potter, but like the 8-bit version. What's happening? Nobody knows. I don't care. God damn, I'm going back to these. These are wonderful. Fantastic. I can't wait to hear when you last joined us. We were listening to this lady tell us all about how the left uses words in a way that's crazy. They're out of their minds. They take words like climate change and put the idea of population control in your head. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Thank you, Louise. That's lovely. They are expensive. That's absolutely right. I'd fix it myself, but I'm better with the onboard computer than I am with lug nuts. But that's personal. All right, let's do it. Oh my God, my eyes look all crazy. It's not healthy. Okay, let's jump back in. This is for those of you know, this is Katie and then they're both people who are in the Trump administration who hope to be again, and they're here to scare you about the way the Democrats twist words, ish.
Country.
So Katie, this is a lot to absorb. So
It is, and I really don't have the brain pan for it.
How do you suggest that we tackle the problem? I know you were the head of a grant office at DOJ, and
Right, which is another terrifying fact.
you had a lot of paperwork. What are your suggestions?
Well,
I suggest getting a job. Hold on. I suggest getting a job in the Trump administration when you're a woman, and they'll make you do a lot of paperwork because that's what chicks are for. That's what chicks are for.
I found that developing a process for each type of document was crucial to reversing
I agree. I filed it under chick work.
the words and definitions from the Obama administration. Here's an overall strategy to
Great.
implement. First, look for any OMB, that's the Office of Management and Budget, White House Office of Management and Budget, guidance.
Excuse me, I just didn't want her to, I was sneezing and I didn't want her to say God bless you because in her land, it's a curse.
You'll want to instruct career employees that you, whatever level you are, you want to be informed of all OMB guidance and how
Right. So the trick is to be a nosy Nancy. That's right. Even if it's not your department, be up in everybody's business. If you hear something from another cubicle across the hall, somebody talking, and they're discussing something that's a pet issue for you that you love making people feel unwelcome or hated about, don't hesitate to jump in. Just butt right the fuck in.
how it is being implemented internally. Oftentimes, careers will just get an OMB circular or an OMB advice, and then they just go along and they either ignore it or they don't put it in. You want to be involved in the process. You want to say, every single thing that comes in, I want to make sure that it is actually being implemented.
Yes, bureaucratic nosy Nancy wants to slow down everything so that she can micromanage language, for freedom.
This can easily be handled at the senior advisor or even special assistant level.
Ooh, a sound effect and a swish pan. Apparently, the editor was getting bored. How to identify and replace misguiding language. Look for OMB guidance. Instruct career employees that you want to be informed of all OMB guidance and how it is being implemented internally. And if they don't tell you, you're going to tell on them. Be aware of how career employees reporting to you are implementing the president's executive orders and OMB directives. Be involved in that process. I find perching with hooked hands as they type is very helpful. And if they use one of the words, like if they use gender neutral language, you should just go, caw, caw.
The second thing you need to do
Also, fuck both of you for borrowing Rachel Maddow's whoosh sound effect and only using one of them. She uses two.
and quickly are look at guidance documents. Now, I've talked about this in other trainings.
You mean like the Bible?
Guidance documents are simply a federal career employee's interpretation of a statute, of an appropriation given by Congress, of a rule or regulation, and how it's going to be implemented. A guidance document is not binding. It is simply
Right. It's their dumb explanation for people like you. And if you have any questions about it, you can alter it. But it basically is like signposts. The map is not the territory.
in some ways just their opinion. The problem with the guidance document is that it has a tremendous amount of authority, because if you are looking to an agency to find out what they're looking for your grant, or how your grant program will be implemented, or what rules they have around it, you're going to look at those guidance documents. They end up with a tremendous amount of authority. It really ends up.
By the way, you'll notice she's, you know how she's talking about how like they take words and they make them mean something else? A tremendous amount of authority in this situation means most people use it as their basic guiding principle, and if they decide they don't want to or they can buck against it, they do. That's not a tremendous amount of authority. It means it becomes the habitual way of parsing what they mean.
Being the careers.
By the way, welcome back to House Parks Mega Worldwide. This is an addendum to the earlier broadcast. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on anybody who's live right now, but I'm finishing out this Project 2025 private training video entitled Left-Wing Code Words and Language, starring the two Karens.
Agenda being forced onto the American.
And by the way, an original Karen and the Dreamsicle version.
American people. A court is the only real institution that can give us a definitive interpretation of any kind of grant program, appropriation, or rule. So most likely
No, the law does that. You don't have to go to court to define what's going on in these things. What they want to do is gum everything up. They don't want anybody getting grants. They want like tax incentivized market stuff, but they don't want people getting grants to do anything. They don't believe in the grant system, period, much less that it would be fair and equitable.
The Office of Management and Budget will come out very quickly with a plan to take down all the guidance documents that are currently up that reflect the Biden administration's agenda. So you'll first want to look at that process.
Okay, so how to identify and replace misguiding language. Look at all the guidance documents, micromanage them. A guidance document is not binding. So if you change them, people might still ask people their pronouns and be nice. You can't stop that, damn it. Just try to get them fired. Yeah. OMB can and should come out with a plan to take down all guidance documents that reflect the Biden administration agenda if Trump takes over. That's
the second thing you're going to want to do, sort of the second layer, is to absolutely...
Which is, by the way, always cake.
Look at things that may not appear to be guidance documents, but are. For instance...
Yeah, Post-it notes, people's tattoos.
One of the documents on our website was supposedly done by a Rutgers,
Thank you, JD.
Professor, and so it looked like it wasn't actually career guidance, but when you really dug into the document, it was not part of any kind of grant program, and it really was just a career who asked a whole bunch of questions, and a Rutgers professor said yes. So it really, in the end, was a guidance.
It was an advisory document. That's what it is. It's an advisory. Jesus. Yeah. So what she wants you to worry about is that the left mangles language for their own political purposes, and now she wants you to think that an advisory document that was written is compulsory in some ways with limits because she thought it was when she read it, and then she realized later it wasn't.
Document, and we brought it down. Another really frightening example when...
I don't know if I can go further than that. That was terrifying. Rutgers? Jesus.
I was running the Office on Violence.
Also, by the way, in case you guys didn't check out the earlier one, this is a private video that was to train people on how to implement Project 2025. Both of these women were in the Trump administration. She was in the Department of Justice. The other lady was in USAID. Both of them seemingly were tasked with making sure brown people don't get grants or help. And apparently they were fantastic at it, because now they're teaching a class on it.
Violence against women was a provision in the Violence Against Women Act.
Okay, wait. Okay, just so you know, let me back this up real quick, if I may. So she was working on grants dealing with the that were issued through the Violence Against Women Act, which are largely for the creation of shelters or the financing of organizations for women who were abused to have an option. Watch how she interprets the addendums that support Well, you'll see.
in the end was a guidance document, and we brought it down. Another really frightening example when
Terrifying.
I was running the
I'm
Office
scared
on
already.
Violence Against Women was a provision in the Violence Against Women Act
Written by Joe Biden.
that about gender identity. And if you identified as a woman and you showed up at a woman's domestic violence shelter,
Wait. Listen for it.
you had to be accommodated.
You had to be accommodated. Does that mean you have to be allowed into that clinic? No. Does that mean they have to put you on a floor with rape victims who are scared of penises, for example, and they all share a bath? No. You have to be accommodated, meaning they have to find some place for you to go. It does not mean that you get to automatically come in there. In some cases you may. That may be the standard. Depends on the comfort level of what was going on there. But the idea is that nope, you got to let them barge in and walk around, with a towel on their hair and no pants on, and the women there just have to suck it up. This is not. I'm live, Robin. This is a video that the Project 2025 people put up and was leaked to ProPublica.
There were lawsuits, of course, about this as predators used that in order to gain entry into a place where there were vulnerable women.
Right. And there was a lawsuit about it.
Seemed to me to be exactly opposite of,
The intention.
the intention of the Violence
Right, except for the argument would be about what accommodation means.
Against Women Act. In any event, it was directed toward just the Office on Violence Against Women programs. It was in the Violence Against Women Act. But in the Obama administration, the entire grant-making component of the Office of Justice programs, which I later went on to run.
Now, this is the part where she's just astounded about the equity of how grants are handed out in terms of the Violence Against Women Act.
The head of that office actually wrote a guidance document that said that
Which, by the way, we've already established is not binding, but is partially directive.
the provision in the Violence Against Women Act regarding to gender identity was intended to apply to every single DOJ grant program, that it wasn't limited to the Office on Violence Against Women. There was absolutely no indication that this was true, but you can see that just by getting that particular...
No. Well, again, okay. This is a great example of her twisting language. The policy position from the Obama administration was that all the DOJ stuff did apply equally to LGBT groups. So in the Violence Against Women Act, that was part of, it was like, not every grant program goes through the Violence Against Women Act, but not every Violence Against Women Act, every Violence Against Women Act grant is a grant of the federal government, but not all federal grants are from the Violence Against Women Act, is the idea. So this is an across-the-board policy by the Obama administration that allows for an openness around LGBT groups in particular who may not have been denied services and end up, by the way, statistically being more homeless, more having more violence, acted out upon them, and having more drug overdoses and suicides because of a lack of available care for them. And so to fix that, they expended all these grants in all these areas the DOJ was handling to include groups that were servicing these particular groups. This woman found that abhorrent.
particular legislation passed, and the way that the careers then interpreted it created a complete change in culture across the Department of Justice.
What was the complete change of culture across the Department of Justice? That if there was violence of any sort against someone, the fact that they were gay or bi or transgender or a lesbian didn't matter in them getting justice? Well, then it needed to happen because it became more constitutionally appropriate.
The next step will be to read every single executive order.
Just to check for Trump's typos in case he writes covfefe in there.
I would suggest that, starting with an assistant, a special assistant, a senior advisor, that you get every single executive order and put it in a binder and have that binder for the
What if my binder is already full of women?
principal and make sure that it's flagged for them. There will be a lot of executive orders that come out, and some of them actually, and know this, repeal other executive orders.
Right, so you don't want to repeal the one that repealed the one that you repealed.
So you need to then pull the executive orders that are being repealed, so you are very clear about what needs to be redacted. Now,
Yeah, redact what's repealed and don't repeal the redactions by accident. You know, it also helps that while this is happening and your assistant, whoever's below you, because this is other people's work, while they're doing it, you should stand with your arms crossed, tapping your foot loudly. I'm just saying it. You know.
now let's go back to that OMB tip that I gave. And just like that, you need to be part of the process that the careers are using to implement executive orders.
Careers, by the way, again, is their term for the deep state.
During the Trump administration, I can tell you that executive orders were signed, fully executed, where all the guidance was given. You gave an example of this, Bethany.
And it turned out they were illegal and therefore null and void.
To our office, and I later found out that it was just simply ignored.
Well, I mean, to be completely frank, a lot of his executive orders were gibberish.
It's not worth, the price of the paper it's written on if your careers are not implementing what the president wanted.
So again, this whole thing is about how to micromanage language, because that's supposedly what the left does, and therefore we must. This is extreme language control. This is stage one of the propaganda fight that they're in. And the next video I'm going to do on this series, by the way, deals with how to the instructions they give on messaging and control of social media, which is downright fucking Goebbels. And swoosh. That's right.
I think you can expect that equity and all of the equity executive orders under Biden will be repealed early in the next administration.
Right, just because it's got his name on it, even if it's good shit. Yeah. And you can expect that 2 years after it happens, something will collapse because they didn't pay attention. They just got rid of anything that had Biden's name on it.
This is going to require a very detailed plan.
And Bethany and Katie think they can run the government. Yes, they believe they should be running the government.
To execute the eradication of the dictates in the equity orders. For instance, there's a gender advisor position created by one of these executive orders.
Yeah, obviously you're not going to staff that. That's ridiculous. I mean, you could put Jason Miller on it and he could check everybody to make sure they have a real vagina.
Position has to be eradicated, as well as all the task forces, the removal of all the equity plans from all the websites, and a complete rework of the language in internal.
Yeah, who cares if the election's even a squeaker and you barely get in? Act like you have an absolute monarchical mandate from day one. And by the way, this, I guess, would be her instruction for Democrats as well. Democrats, according to this lady, what you should be doing, and this is how government should be run, this is the ping pong match that she thinks should happen, is that you should just roll in, fire everybody that isn't snap to loyalist, and replace them immediately with cult members that are, as you know, just all straight across the board, blue hair, checkbox liberals.
And external policy documents and grant applications, which leads me to grants and rules and regulations.
Yes, grants, which we don't believe should exist except to sneak money to our, voter base, and rules and regulations, which we try to get rid of so that the president can do just whatever the hell he wants.
Well, grant and grant programs are funded with your federal tax dollars.
Right.
And they are appropriated by Congress. So you are told how much money you have for what particular program. And typically your appropriations language will just give a very brief description of the program. And that's the direction that Congress has given the agency. Every single grant has conditions.
What? You mean they can't just, spend it on golf?
You want to think of this like a carrot and a stick.
I do. You're right. I do. That's how I think of most things.
You can have...
But obviously, she's the carrot. That would make... Never mind.
...your federal money in order to support your program, but only if you agree to certain conditions, which are built into the grants.
Right. The stuff that makes it legal.
When I began at the Office on Violence Against Women, our grant...
Yes. You're right. It's ironic.
Grant applications were 75 to 110 pages long.
Look at her. Oh, the grant applications were 75 to 100 pages long just to apply. Yeah, you know why? They used to be 2 pages, and then somebody cheated, so they added a 3rd page, and then somebody else figured out a way to cheat, and then they added 7 pages to cover all those cheats, and then somebody still managed to cheat it, and they added another 20 pages, and it got to the point where they just started stacking pages because somebody will always find a weasel point where they automatically get the money even if they don't deserve it, so the fucking thing gets bigger and bigger.
Long pages and pages of guidance that had no statutory or congressional counterpart, and tons of conditions. The conditions that you would need in order to receive the money. And you would need to continue to live with those conditions throughout the time of your grant.
What? That's so weird. Let me get this straight. You think it's too hard for people to get grant money from the government? There are too many strings attached. That's the conservative Heritage Foundation's argument now. So it's too hard for people to get free money from the government. That's the problem. That's what you're arguing against. It's just too complicated. Or you just don't like doing the homework. You know what? It's too complicated. Let's just not give out the money.
For instance, to receive grant money, certain programs would have to show a partnership with an LGBTQ support group.
Well, that's 1 page.
There was no language in the appropriation for that grant that an LGBTQ subgrantee was mandated.
No, but they have to, in a lot of them, they cannot be discriminatory because they would violate the Constitution. So that language is put in there even if it's not in the original provision, because some people might think, oh, okay, this one I could just hand out to dopey white chicks in glasses and their ginger compatriot.
Career said it was best practices, and it was an Obama administration priority.
Do you hear that? Do you hear what a terrible time the Obama administration was? They made it a priority that LGBT groups would have a shot at all kinds of grants. Also other minority groups too. That doesn't skeeve people out the way the gay stuff does. So she's focusing on that.
This condition on many grants funded a lot of LGBTQ organizations.
Oh my God. There's gay bridges all over the country. There's gay AA groups that are getting grants. Gay art.
So we removed...
I've met Gay Art before. He's a very nice guy. A little loud for my taste sometimes. But, I just don't I don't hang around him when he's drinking.
That language, and we removed those conditions as we wrote the grants moving forward.
I see. So you just went back to making them bigoted. And by the way, these are the folks that I'm kidding about the AA thing. So these are the folks that are supposed to protect minority rights or voting rights. Okay. Identify and remove unnecessary conditions from pre-existing grants.
Rules and regulations also...
I hate them. I hate rules and regulations. They suck. That's why I'm doing a show right now. I don't even have to wear pants.
Need ultimate political sign-off. and a tremendous amount of political involvement. Your careers may draft the initial documents, the rules and
Yeah, they do all the grunt work.
regulations, but there should be multiple political edits on any final proposed rule or regulation.
Yeah, you don't let them just post whatever they want. You gotta micromanage that shit. Make sure that there's something in there about, Donald Trump checks to see if these people have vaginas by crocodile Dundeeing every single one of them. So make sure if you want to qualify for a ladies only grant, you gotta get the presidential grab.
The left is excellent about holding up process. So
That's very sweet.
you want to expect and prepare for thousands of comments coming from tons of left-supported groups on any rule that you put up.
Oh, you mean like the Tea Party and the sovereign citizen crowd and the Moors and those folks that are always on those websites jacking them up, and foreign bots as well.
So expect that.
All those groups, very left-wing.
And have a plan to deal with those thousands, tens of thousands of comments in order to move the
Yeah, just copy and paste. Eat shit, and then give your monitor the finger and then push it off the desk.
president's agenda. If you are prepared to deal with the comments that are
By the way, why does Bethany over here always look like someone's holding a small turd under her nose?
are coming in, then you aren't going to let them delay the rule because they have to be responded to, each one of the comments.
Oh my God.
The careers will want to follow the system that's currently in place for handling
Oh my God, why would they do that? The establishment, we establish these truths to be self-evident. No, we fucking don't.
comments or conditions or how grants are written. You are empowered as a political appointee to adjust these processes.
You mean as an unelected bureaucrat? Sorry, political appointee. You were saying you were appointed by someone who was elected. But you weren't. No one voted to put you in that position. But you have all this power, even downstream. Okay, gotcha.
As long as you are meeting all legal requirements. So
that's where you run in trouble.
So you may have to deal with pushback, but really look at your process and
By pushback, she means jail time.
change it.
Ensure all rules and regulations receive ultimate sign-off from political staff. You are empowered as a political appointee, but I don't know.
A tip here, in addition to the sheer
just the tip.
volume of guidance and conditions to grants and explanations of proposed rules, is to ask careers to explain a grant program or the need for a rule in 2 sentences.
I see. And if it's more it's so complicated it takes more than 2 sentences, it has to be dumb and removed. I see. So I guess explain to me how a urine culture works in 2 sentences. The value of a urine culture in 2 sentences. I mean, it's not like it's something that's done regularly in a hospital or doctor's office and can determine life or death or whatever, but, just 2 sentences. And if you can't explain it in 2 sentences, we just won't do them anymore.
It is astonishing how difficult it is for a career who works in the policy or grant space to actually accomplish this. And finally,
how long can these sentences be? Because I can run on a sentence like a motherfucker.
Use your
Do commas count?
common sense.
Yes. Never be afraid to use your common sense. And what that means is anybody's guess.
Even if you see something that isn't directly addressed by an executive order or an OMB circular or directed by your agency head, you want to use your common sense to redact the words and definitions which are weakening our nation.
I see. So even if you're not directed to or anything, just take a fucking Sharpie and go through any document that passes in front of you and start crossing out she, her, and he, him, and just and they, them, or women's spaces or anything. Just scratch that shit out. Just yeah. Even if no one tells you to, because basically you're the president. If you're elected and if you're appointed by someone who was appointed by the guy who was elected, you're basically him. We're all Trump. This is the Neganing of the Trump administration.
As we have discussed, certain words and phrases used together have hidden definitions.
Like common sense, like common as in communist, sense as in change, as in hope and change, as in common change, as in Kamala Harris. Common sense is code for Kamala Harris now.
A really good example is social emotional learning.
It is. It's great. I hear that all the time. Like sometimes I'm in the grocery and somebody brings that up and I'm like, yeah, I get it and don't get it at the same time.
That's actually the new buzzword for CRT, or critical race theory.
They just left race out, I guess. So it's just a sort of like it's like a critical neighborhood theory.
Here's a tip. When you
This lady is very interested in giving us all just the tip. I'm just saying.
see phrases, any phrase like this,
Any phrase.
one that sounds innocuous,
Yeah, anything that sounds normal in a sentence, take a Sharpie, cross that out. It's definitely bad.
ask your careers to identify the origin of that phrase. Where
Why do all knock knock jokes start with knock knock? Wouldn't one knock be sufficient? And who knocks twice? Don't most people knock 3 times? Shouldn't it be knock knock knock? Who's there? Where did this begin? What is going on?
did it come from? Why are you using that phrase particularly? What does it mean based on the original intent of those words? And then
they'll go, English is a non-inflected Indo-European language of Latin origin, which is largely comprised of Germanic and Franco phrases combined together with a Northern Plains dialect passed from Scottish and Irish, and derived over time by that confluence of different cultures and different languages into the common Queen's English as we know it today. Now, would you please get out of my fucking office and stop asking me what "and" means?
I would highly recommend you start your own research.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Hey, can you go type up the other, the variants on that executive order, make sure we have our ducks in a row? Excuse me, I'm on the internet doing my own research right now. Okay, cool, QAnon Karen. As soon as you're done with that, can we go back to work?
As a last note, plan to read a lot of documents. Know how your careers are implementing
And plan to read a lot of documents and draw black lines through them.
the president's executive orders, OMB directives, and be very involved in that process. I can't stress enough the need to control all documents.
Because that's what makes a bureaucracy hum. You know what I mean? That's what makes a government just chug right along.
Create a system where nothing goes out, nothing is...
Can you imagine a business of any sort where the CEO's office is controlled by this young lady and her friend, and nothing ever happens? Where can you imagine what the business would be like? How long it would take to get a response on anything?
Published. Nothing is put on your website without review by a delegated political or the principal of any office.
Because Donald Trump might accidentally hit the wrong button on his phone, and it will start recording. It'll start doing speech to text, and then it will go straight into the document because somebody's laptop is open. And then we have a big story about how he thinks Melania is fucking the security guy who runs who does security for Tiffany's in Trump Tower, and that Eric looks a lot like Rudy Giuliani.
Ask lots of questions and do not make assumptions.
No. Assumptions are terrible because it makes an ass out of you and umption.
And finally, if a career employee rushes in and says it is an emergency, and I think a lot of people who are an assistant, chief of staff, maybe senior advisor, or special assistants are going to have careers just descending on them, talking about how it's an emergency that the principal sign something. That's a red flag. Right away, it's a red flag.
Yeah, anything we're in a hurry with, like, let's say the Joint Chiefs come in with a briefcase and sweaty brows, and the president has to do something immediately. Go, whoa, out into the lobby, you three.
By the time you get into your position, you will realize that the government moves very, very slowly. Just think about your clearance process and how long that.
Yeah, let me tell you, I'm still waiting for it. I filed during Clinton 1.
Took. These documents need to be read even more carefully.
Can you imagine there's an emergency from any number of different groups? Oh, hi, co-pilot. Please buzz off. Appreciate you. Any number of, different departments in the White House. One of them runs into, we need this signed immediately. This has to go out right now. It's super important. It's timely. And stuff. Excuse me. Bring in all the relevant documents, and we will read them when we get to it. And then we will have the principal sign it if we feel that it's, ready for his signature, or if even before we even ask him. It's his priority. We'll see.
If a career thinks they can push you to sign something by giving it to you at the very last minute, that will become the norm, and it will hinder your ability to actually go through a process, read things, edit things, and make sure that they are completely in line.
Yes, you will not be able to micromanage anything. So just remember, emergencies don't actually happen. There are none. There never have been.
The president's priorities and agenda. The president's agenda will be in peril from your office if you allow this emergency.
Emergency. Well, yes, there's a hurricane. There's always a hurricane, Florida. Simmer. Excuse me. I'm sorry, what? The people in Puerto Rico need paper towels again? Fucking hell. What? I'm sorry, people are freezing to death in Texas? They need an immediate diversion of energy or people are going to die? What? Who are these people? We don't believe this.
Kind of process.
Katie.
I would also like to remind you that this is part of a video where they're talking about how the left manipulates language.
That was great. Thank you for taking us through that process. Do you see the...
No, I don't. I see that you're both insane. I see that the Trump, that in many ways, I want to thank both of these young ladies, because it turns out, for all the talk about how Mike Pence saved democracy and any number of career politicians or members of the Joint Chiefs or generals stopped Trump from being able to implement his worst impulses, it turns out, nope. It was just two busybodies gumming up the fucking works. And that's what they plan to do in the next administration. I feel a lot better about the chances that of Trump losing, because these people are also working on his campaign. And of course, if he ever got in, him not being able to do anything while he's out fucking golfing, putting the government on autopilot.
Monster is in the attic, and it is layered in virtually every document in the federal government. Grant applications, rules, regulations, internal and external policy documents, guidance documents, tweets.
Yeah, there's like stuff about gay rights and women's rights and children's rights, all through this stuff. And we just got to root it all out and burn it.
Speeches and panels. Every one of these phrases or words that are not corrected by being redacted or rephrased is a failure of the presidency.
Yeah, this is, if we fail, then Trump fails, which is why he failed so much. I blame myself.
As the Heritage Foundation's president, Dr. Kevin Roberts boldly and courageously states in the mandate for leadership.
Boldly and courageously? Did he use kind of like the Schwarzenegger Predator voice when he yells when he's holding up the... Because that's what I think of when I think of boldly and courageously. You know, you just light the torch and go, oh! And, you know, and then he gets... Right.
The next conservative president.
He looks bold. You know what? He looks bold and courageous. And the great thing about bold, courageous phrases is that it's so concise. You know what I mean? Bold, courageous statements don't need to be wordy. What? All right.
Then must make the institutions of American civil society hard targets for woke culture warriors. This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, SOGI.
I'm going to pronounce that soggy. Look, I understand the argument about GIF versus GIF. You can't call it GIF, even though that would be proper because it sounds like peanut butter and it's a hard G on a IF, so that's GIF. This is soggy, if you ask me. Just saying.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. Gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitive, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights.
By the way, these are all words they want expunged from all government documents. We're actually getting to the meat and potatoes of the fact that this is a Project 2025 video, and it's a training video for people who want to help implement Project 2025. They want all of these phrases removed from all public documents, websites, executive orders, laws, descriptives on how to carry out these laws, guidance positions, any of that stuff. All of it's got to go.
And any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights out of every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, regulations, and piece of legislation that exists.
Now, granted, it's going to be hard to do with the Voting Rights Act, so I guess they're just going to get rid of it, make sure it never passes. That seems to be...
And the next conservative president will only be able to do so with your help. Are you up for this challenge?
Look, I can do it. I'm just not going to. What I'm capable of and what I actually do are two different things. You see, I don't not do terrible things because I can't do terrible things. I don't do terrible things because I make a moral decision not to do those terrible things. I know that sounds crazy to you, I don't kind of just, if an impulse comes to me, I don't just jump at it like a child growing up to be a serial killer who happens to be raised rich in Manhattan. So, no, I guess is the short answer. No, I'm not gonna help.
We think you are. Together.
Well, you're wrong. Again, it wouldn't be the first time tonight. And by the way, we have been watching Project 2025's private training video, Left-Wing Code Words and Language.
Let's conquer the monsters in Uncle Sam's attic.
2025. Project 2025. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We finished it out. Good for us. Chat room, I love you guys. I just wanted to come back on and do that. I didn't want to snatch the show away from anybody else, but I wanted to get this on the books. For those of you that, people jumped off or went elsewhere, hopefully they can pick up the rest of this later and finish it out. I have more videos of this, but we're going to break down all of them because this is the plan. This has been Left-Wing Code Words and Language, Project 2025 private training video. It's one of the longer ones. There's some shorter ones. So I'll pepper them around. I'll arrange them as best I can so that we're moving around a bit. And there's a lot to cover in the regular video world. But I'm going to let you guys go tonight, and then I'm probably going to add on one more of these tomorrow before the afternoon show. So I'll do a regular afternoon show with the regular clips that I do, but I'll come on early tomorrow, about at like maybe an hour and a half early, to do one of these short ones so that we can get them out of the way. Because I want these to be separate videos that people can watch and understand what the Project 2025 stuff is and how it's connected to what Trump did, what he plans to do, and so that everybody gets a chance to look at these, not just little bits that people pull out and kind of poach and put on social media. That we're gonna look at the entirety of their argument and the entirety of their plan. Okay, there's, I think, 12 of these in all. I want to say maybe 13. And I'm going to get them all done, in the next like 3 weeks, so that as part of my regular show, we also have these. So there you go. This is chapter 2 of the left-wing code words and language video of Project 2025. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you, Grand Ronde, help me Ronde. And thank you, Miss Allie and Co. How's Chip? Will there be a sighting soon? It's not a bad idea. I just fed him. Hold on one second. Let me see. I don't have to go back up here and grab a video. Let me talk amongst yourselves.
Chip.
Oh no. Oh, because it's his box.
Why were you being a jerk? Chip, why were you being a jerk? Chip, why would you do it? Why you doing it, buddy? What the buddy doing? What the buddy doing? What you doing?
There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Chunky Chip, the biggest cat in the world. He looks fat when I hold him up, but he's actually very meaty. He's a meaty cat. He's a butch cat. Look at that neck. Look at that. Look at that guy. Look at him. What you doing? What you doing, buddy? What you doing? You my boy? Are you my buddy? You okay? I love you too. You're a good boy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chip. Chip loves you. Thank you guys for the support. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for enjoying the show. Now I'm going to go get all the hair off my... Thank you. Are you licking my chin now? Thank you. Did I eat something and you just missed it? There he is. Okay. There you go, buddy. All right, beat it. Love you guys. See you tomorrow for the morning show, 9 a.m. Pacific time. House Sparks Mornings, Mega Worldwide. And then, of course, afternoon show and the addendum before that. It's going to be a very broadcasty time because I got a lot going on. And I'm trying to add all the programming that I can for when I have a travel day or something like that. Just so I'm stacking stuff that people can watch that's sort of evergreen up until the election. So hope that helps. You're awesome. It's House Sparks Mega Worldwide. We're House Sparks is like nobody else can House Sparks because this is where House Sparks comes to House Sparks. As far as I know.